right, guys, THORChain is a decentralized exchange that enables you to swap Bitcoin with thousands of other cryptocurrencies. It's all layer one. It's native tokens. It's the real deal. No bridges, no wrap tokens, none of that garbage. And it's all from within the self-custody wallet of your choosing. There's no KYC on THORChain. That means kill your customer. We don't do that. It's permissionless. Nothing like that. No, we don't kill our customers. We love our customers, right? THORChain's token is called RUNE, and that is spelled RUNE. You don't need to buy or hold RUNE to place a swap on THORChain, okay? But the fees that are deducted from swaps are used to buy RUNE, and that's the yield that goes to liquidity pools and node operators. It's all real rewards. There's no inflation. 100% of the yield is real. THORChain has another token. It's called TCY. That's Tango Charlie Yankee. And this is like a preferred stock where 10% of the protocol's revenue goes to these token holders. If you deposited crypto in Savers or took out a loan, make sure to claim your TCY token so you can start collecting this yield. And if you're interested, you can buy the TCY token as well. To swap on THORChain, this is big, you guys, pay attention. Go to swap.thorchain.org. One more time, swap.thorchain.org. New features and functionality are being added to the site over the next few months. You guys, please, if you're going to make a swap, go to the site, make a swap. And if you have any bugs whatsoever, there is an address on top of the site. You need to report that bug. Let's all work together and really foolproof this thing so Kenton can get started to marketing, because we don't want to market something that doesn't work right. So guys, if you're going to make any swap, again, I must repeat, go to swap.thorchain.org, make your swap on there, and let us know how your experience was, okay? Rujira is building decentralized Binance on THORChain smart contract layer, okay? It's being rolled out, and you guys know the deal. When we speak about sexes, if you hold RUNE on a centralized exchange, you need to withdraw that into self-custody. Get your RUNE off centralized exchanges, because these tokens can be used to short sell and drive the RUNE price down. We're not about that. We want RUNE in the system, okay? And then once in self-custody, you guys should look into bonding your RUNE. And the best interface to do that is runebond.com. It is this profile. Go to runebond.com. All you have to do, select a node, request a whitelist, and then once you're approved, you can bond your RUNE. Super easy. If you have any questions, go to the RuneBond account on X, and you can go to the Telegram. We'll help you out there. There's a THORChain community Discord and Telegram you guys can join to learn all about THORChain and make lots of new friends. To find the links, go to @Thor, THOR, community, all one word, account on X. Okay, guys, enough of the introduction. Please repost the space. Let's get some more people in here. This is going to be a good one. We always have Chad Barraford. It is so exciting. Let me see here. We got, let's see, am I bugging? We got, try to get Kenton up here. I might be a lone guy for a while. I hope X Space is not bugging here. Is any speakers up here with me? I'm going to give you a few seconds. Check any mics. Okay, looks like we got no one up here. These things happen, you guys. No big deal. We'll get that addressed. But yeah, share the space, guys. We're going to have a good one today, so please share the space, okay? All right. So, I don't know if you guys saw. Oh, I think we got Kenton up here. Kenton, I'll give you a few seconds. You want to check your mic, buddy? I don't hear you if you're speaking. I don't know if you guys saw. I'll keep going here. Oh, there we go.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. I was messaging Chad. I don't see him here. Is Chad on the speaker list or guest list?
I don't see him here either. Maybe he'll come in a little bit. But why not give an update on the marketing thing for now, and then hopefully he'll join up. I'm not sure.
Let me message him in Discord here quick before I get started, guys, because I'm starting to worry that maybe we had a I know he said he was in for today, but I actually didn't check in with him yesterday or anything. So just messaging him Discord, you guys. A second.
All right, no worries. I don't know if you guys. I'll let you do that, Kenton, and I'll
yeah, please keep everyone.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw. Cal made a limit swap test on THORChain, and it went very, very well. I had a very well-known node operator. I'm not going to say who they were, but they were blown away by the price execution on that limit swap test. So it's really, really exciting, you guys. And I think we have a lot to look forward to. So one thing I definitely want to chat in here is to talk about when this is going to go live. I know they're still testing it. They're working very, very hard in the back end. This is a huge level up for THORChain. But again, we always, when it comes to new primitives, guys, you guys know the deal. We don't want any bugs. And those seem to always happen on some way or level with new primitives. So we got to keep going that. Thank you guys for pounding in some more people. Again, I want to repeat for the people who are just tuning in, go to swap.thorchain.org. There's no affiliate fee, right? Test that site out, guys. Okay, we want to make sure it's as solid as possible. Solid as possible.
Yeah, great. And I just finished messaging Chad on a few channels here, so hopefully he'll get it. Yeah, I can give a bit of an update about the site. So yeah, I keep getting random questions, we're going to do this or have that. The site's going to have everything. Everything you can think of will be on the site. It'll come. It's just going to take time, and we kind of have to prioritize. We have to do kind of one thing at a time, right? So the next phase for the site will be DEX aggregation. That's being worked on. It's going to take several weeks to get done. So like, not just Maya, but all other, Uniswap and PancakeSwap and everything, right? So that's being worked on. And then more wallets, like we're still working on Keystore. I'm curious if anybody's control wallet's working. Mine isn't. I don't know if it's just my computer, my wallet, or if anybody else uses control wallet. If you can go, even just connect. You don't have to place a trade. Can you connect? I can't even connect my control wallet. And the guys are having a hard time figuring it out. So it'd be nice to know if other people have that problem too. Maybe it might help them troubleshoot. But yeah, we want to get more, definitely want to have more wallets functionality, more wallets that can be added. Memoless swaps are going to come out soon. That's happening. So we definitely want to have, that functionality in the site too. What else? The typical features like bonding your rune, depositing LPs, withdrawing, claiming and staking TCY, all that kind of stuff. Like we're going to do that. It's going to happen. Just give us some time, guys. Marketing. Why don't I give everyone a bit of a marketing update? So we created an entity called Berserk Marketing Limited. You can thank Scorch for that name. He came up with it. And basically, we don't want to do stuff like enter into contracts or make payments or anything in our personal names. So we want to have some isolation there, some just in case. I don't know what the liability could be, but you never know. It's crypto, right? And like maybe we do some marketing and somebody's, oh well, you said this or did that, and then they try and sue us or something. I don't know. At least they go after the company and not us personally. And so we just finished setting up the entity, and so use that for contracts and payments going forward. We have our new chief marketing officer. His name is Reggie, and he's been doing the rounds, talking to all the major stakeholders within THORChain, and I think his conversations have gone pretty good. He's just trying to understand THORChain, and from the different angles and direction, all the different people and what they do and kind of their perspective and their history with THORChain, what they think needs to be done, and all that good stuff. So it's been good. It's really brought him up to speed. So now he understands the community better, what we need to do. So he's putting together a game plan. And again, everyone comes up with really good ideas about marketing. And we just same as the site, we just have to do them one at a time. And so, eventually we want to do, every idea people have with marketing, we want to do them all. But again, we have to prioritize them. And so it looks like our first kind of like the first step in all this is doing some paid SEO, like to try and get more positive articles about THORChain out there, because right now it's just all those negative articles from the beginning of the year are just kind of dominating the internet. So when everybody searches THORChain, doing a bit of due diligence, they just see all this FUD, right? And we've done nothing to combat that. But but we can, we can do paid stuff. And if you guys are familiar with how paid marketing works and PR works, public relations, there's a difference on pages. Like when you see an article online, you'll see if it's sponsored or not. And if it's sponsored, that means it's paid for, right? And so like Google will give it less importance or authority, and and others might see sponsored and just think, okay, well, these guys paid, for the pitch, for the promotion, right? So the articles that matter more is what's called earned media, where somebody writes the article on their own volition. It's like a journalist writing it because they want to, and so it's not sponsored. And those articles have more weight, and they get more distribution on Google. No, you kind of do pay to get in those articles. Basically, you're paying for someone to kind of network on your behalf, to reach out to these journalists. And, maybe they have some existing relationships, and they can say, hey, you should take a look at this THORChain, and this is what they're doing, and blah, blah, blah. And then the journalists are like, okay, yeah, I'll cover that. But we need to do the paid SEO first to do what we can to get some more positive content out there, so that when the journalists go and do their own due diligence on THORChain, they go do their Google searching, more positive stuff is coming up. It doesn't just go straight to FUD, right? And then I've been experiencing this with investors. I'm trying to raise money, trying to get people to buy Rune, guys. And people do some basic searching on THORChain, and then they just pull up FUD. So I think that's our priority, fixing that right away and try and get some more positive stuff out there, and do what we can to take control of the narrative. And we can't change or replace any of those FUD articles, but we can drown them out, right? We drown them out with our message, our content, and it's not lying, right? We all know, it is, all those things are FUD, and they can be addressed, and there are a lot of positive things happening. So we just have to get that going. So I think that's gonna be I think that's what we're all settling on. That's gonna be our first step forward here in the marketing push. And so we'll do the paid SEO. That'll tie into AEO. So for AI, so when people look stuff up on ChatGPT and whatnot, that'll help with us getting into those results. So anytime I talk about SEO and optimizing that, improving that, it simultaneously helps for the AI chat models too. And then like Patriot Sound said, we kind of want to get the website, a bit more functionality and more to do before we really start doing like pay-per-click to drive traffic to it. Because, if somebody comes to the site for the first time, that's going to be their first impression. If they don't like it, if it doesn't have this or whatever, then they're just going to leave and not come back, right? So I like to at least have DEX aggregation so that, they can trade more than just, a dozen tokens. So it should fit in nicely with doing the SEO and everything, getting that going. And then also, like a light rebrand on the website to just, clean everything up. So that should take about 2 months to do that on the marketing side. So by then the DEX aggregation should be done. So it should all work out. The timing should work out well. So by the time we're ready to do like paid clicks, the site is much better by then. Yeah, I think that's it for the marketing. And maybe I'll stop there, see if Patriot, if you have any questions. I know Chad just joined us.
No, I don't have any questions. Someone did respond though about the control wallet. They asked you to make sure that you're not trying to connect your Kepler or control at the same time. Sometimes those interfere. I don't know if that's relevant to you, but
it does. Yeah, well, so I do get that. It is something weird like that. But my Kepler's, I have it disconnected. And I'm wondering if it's just having the Kepler and control on the same browser. Maybe that's what it is, and they're like somehow interfering. But yeah, really good point. There is some bug there.
I will say that whenever I know that Kepler, Control, MetaMask, even Multisig can sometimes interfere with each other. So if you're set on using one wallet for a specific activity, sometimes it helps to just disable all the other plugins and then just try have one enabled. That's worked for me in the past.
I'll play with that. I'll try that. Yeah. I mean, ideally, obviously, we wouldn't try and get it to work if everybody has all these plugins, right? But yeah, good suggestion. Thank you.
All right, guys, I think that's about it for on the marketing angle there. We got Chad Barraford with us on stage. How you doing, Chad?
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going super well, man. And one thing that I mentioned, I don't think you were in the room yet, is Familiar Cow. He made a practice or a test swap with limit swap, and one node operator, I won't say who they were blown away by the price execution on there. They got super, super excited, man. So I know everyone's getting pumped up what's gonna be coming soon.
Oh, I didn't even hear that. That's awesome. We're actually, I don't know if it's public yet or not, but we're launching the swap on Monday, I think. So we're only a few days away.
There you go. I didn't know that. You guys. I'm getting pretty excited.
Yeah, it's coming.
There you go,
Monday.
Alpha for this space. There you go, guys.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, Chad, you're breaking up, brother. You're breaking up pretty bad.
Am I back here? Am I back?
Yep, you're good. Go ahead.
One way to bury those things that Kenton was talking about, just by having a really great roadmap, and launching things like limit swaps and rapid swaps and Memoless, and we have some new things too that we've been talking about. We haven't talked probably yet about, but some more features coming down. We're pretty excited about.
Well, let's get into it. Let's jump right into it, Chad. What can we look forward to? I mean, should we talk about limit swaps? And you said they might go live Monday. Is it so? Testing has been going well and whatnot. You're ready to turn them on? Is that our rapid swaps can be turned on at the same time? Yeah.
Yep. No, rapid swaps will be separate. I want to kind of be very strategic about how we roll this out. Be careful about how we roll it out, as we always do with THORChain. So limit swaps will be launched on Monday, I think around noonish or something like this. We'll flip the switch. And thank you. We'll flip the switch and keep a close eye on it. Make sure there's no bugs or weird behaviors we don't like. And if we do, then we can just flip it off and fix a bug and carry on. But once limit swaps have kind of shown themselves to be reliable and behave correctly, all that kind of stuff, then we're going to move on to rapid swaps. So that requires some testing in StageNet to kind of validate that the behavior is what we think the behavior should be, and then we can flip that on mainnet. But I don't want to go on rapid swaps until I feel good about limit swaps code being stable and functioning correctly.
And in limit swaps, this will work on all that, like secured assets, trade assets, L1 assets.
Yeah, I believe so.
On everything.
Yeah, I think it should work on any. It's asset agnostic in the way that it functions. And this code, by the way, the limit swap code was such a pain in the ass to build. It's one of the harder features I've done for a host of reasons, but end up having to basically almost rewrite the entire swap managing logic, which is a significant part of the code. So it's a big change, which is why I want to be very careful about its rollout and careful about its testing and all that kind of stuff. And which is why we have the ability to revert the change if we want to, using the mirrors, just in case.
Is that a reason why a lot of other dexes they don't do limit swaps? Is it because it's just so complicated to code out, whereas you figured it out?
Yeah, I mean it is complicated. The problem is that when you're doing a limit swap, like an order book rather, like a standard order book, you are taking two people, one's on the buy side, one's on the sell side, and you basically pair them against each other, and then you do your kind of trade between those two individuals. Generally, how order books work in general. But obviously, AMMs are different. They don't swap against a person. It's not person to person. It's person to pool. So it's just structurally different than how order books work. And so this is really kind of like a hybrid between the two. So instead of in a regular order book where you pair person A with who's a buyer, person B who's a seller, and you just kind of swap direct, we're doing this more or less the same thing, but instead of swapping direct, we're swapping through the pool. So the pool will be swapped in one direction, and then the other guy is going to swap in the opposite direction and kind of push the price back and forth at a very, very small amount. So so you're still using the pools, and you're swapping the pool and not the person, but you get the behavior, the kind of that you're looking for that you get on an order book, like a limit order.
And so when somebody has a limit order, is it oh my guys, sorry, I'm brain farting on the terms. I should know better. But when you place a limit order, you can like on a stock brokerage, you can enter in like all or none or partial fills. Will these limit orders do they accept partial fills? So
Yes.
when the pool moves in your direction and you might get filled on 4% of your order, it'll just stay there partially filled, and it'll just keep anytime the price goes to your limit, it'll just keep executing the trade eventually until the whole trade gets filled.
Yeah.
Or is it all or none? Like if the limit can't execute your entire trade, it just won't do it.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's kind of funny because so it does do partial, but like a regular order book would do partials. And the way that it achieves that is actually kind of funny because it's when you do like a streaming swap, right? You break up your trade into like 10 trades, right? In a streaming swap scenario, and you just do little sub swaps on the way. And it's basically like implementing or utilizing the streaming swap kind of mentality or ethos or structure to do like partial fulfillments of a trade, right? So depending upon how partial it can be, it depends upon the size of the pools, just swapping through and the size of like, your actual trade, whatnot. But yes, you would get partial fulfillment, and then you could theoretically then cancel your order, and then it would send you back some of your original source, which might be the Bitcoin, and some of the Ether that you just bought, on the other side. So you might get like, two transactions heading out, some of your original Bitcoin, some of your whatever you swapped, your partial swaps that you had accomplished.
Cool. So this is something we'll have to figure out on the front end, is how to display this to the user so they can see their limit order and see the status, like how it's being partially filled.
Yeah, all that information is right in the API that they already consume, so it should be fairly easy for them to get that data, get that information about where they're at, how partial it is. But I don't know which UIs are going to be jumping into this. I don't. So it might take like some time for the UIs to really, adopt this new feature and implement the UI components to it. So I don't expect limit stuff to be heavily used like in the first, week or two, maybe even a month, waiting for our bots to kind of adopt and waiting for UIs to kind of create their UI elements to make it possible to use.
Yeah, it'll take our site a bit to get it integrated too.
Yeah, it'll take some time. Give it like a month, couple months, whatever it is, for people to start to kind of like, 'cause, like what's really fascinating is that like I think like the landscape of swapping on THORChain is fundamentally changing over the next like just few months, because you're going to take, a lot of people are going to switch to limit swaps, specifically arbs, because it's just a much more efficient way of arbing. And if you have a passive arb versus an active arb, the active arb will almost always win, against the passive arb. So it's really going to force every arb to become more an active arb in this sense. So you're going to have at least half of the volume switch to limit orders, fairly quickly within the first like, couple months or so. And then once we have Memoless, which is like, another major feature coming downstream, I think a lot of the trade volume is going to go through Memoless because of it's just so much cheaper than everything else out there, than SwapKit and various wallets and whatnot. That's also going to drive a lot of volume to that kind of those Memoless UIs because it's so cheap, it's basically free. It's a very easy to use swapping interface. There's not a lot of complexity to it, and it's really quick. And those three factors are obviously like very attractive factors for any trader out there. So I presume that the Memoless UIs will become the predominant swapping kind of mechanism, within the first 3 months, maybe 6 of Memoless launching. So you give it like 3 to 6 months of all this stuff, I think we're going to be a very fundamentally different landscape of how swapping is being done on the protocol, which is really positive, obviously.
Totally. Okay, but before we get into Memoless, I have another question about limit swaps.
Yeah, go.
So you said, the limit swaps is more like peer to pool versus peer to peer.
Yeah.
Will this, in essence, like this could in theory double the liquidity on THORChain, because we have the liquidity of the pools, and then we're gonna have to add in the liquidity of the order book, right? Because you
Yep.
mentioned the ARBs, be active. They'll be
Yep.
active participant, active traders. So they'll have all of their bids set up on the order book.
Right.
That's fresh capital,
Right.
new orders coming in, right?
Yeah.
So this will dramatically increase the liquidity on THORChain, which means and implies it should dramatically increase, dramatically decrease the spreads and make the quotes much better and more
Yeah.
competitive.
In theory, that would be correct. We'll see how it all kind of pans out over the next few months or whatever. But when people put up, even people who are non-arbs and just want to put up an order, right, like a limit order or a limit swap, they can do that. And by doing that, they're obviously providing liquidity, creating more wall for the price have to push through, or whatever pool we're talking about. So yes, there's an opportunity here for really good value in terms of like a lot more liquidity, as you were saying. And I'm hoping, and I don't think this is going to happen quickly, so it's going to take some time. But my hopes is that by adding this functionality of having like something conceptually similar to like a limit order, that we might expand our user base from just like kind of wallets who are just kind of want to trade every once in a while to like more like people who want to trade. You know, we'll see if that actually pans out or not, or Rujira will probably be a big component to pull that kind of person, that kind of like community into this ecosystem. But yeah, like I think there's going to be a good increase in liquidity. But you're right, that there should be a kind of stickier price in the pools that should give better price execution as well in the end.
Nice. You brought up Rujira. How will limit swaps on the base layer affect or interact or improve the limit swaps on the smart contract layer, their order book? Will it
Yeah.
be the two will complement each other? They'll any insight there?
Yeah, no, they should actually collectively add to the liquidity. Like, so the base layer isn't really going to be consuming orders from the order book of the Rujira layer. It doesn't go in that direction. But the Rujira layer will look at the base layer for limit orders and swaps and whatever's happening there to add liquidity to their side. So even though they're not like directly one unit in a literal sense, but they're going to collectively add to the liquidity of the system as a whole, right? So even as an ARB puts an ARB on the base pool, some Rujira trade might execute it against the ARB, in that scenario. So yes, it's going to be very like synergistic. I guess if it's a word to use. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the way I'm thinking about it, like if there's an ARB or a trader who's like sophisticated and serious, they're going to be using both. They're going to be placing limit orders on Rujira. They're going to be doing it on the base layer. They're going to be, it'd be surprising if they're only doing one or the other. I would think it makes sense for them to do both. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be exciting. Monday's going to be a big day for the protocol. I'm excited to see it roll out. Hopefully, it'll be a smooth process.
Are you guys like actually in touch with like arbitrage people that run our bots or market makers or anything like that? Like, are they aware this is coming?
I am not. Like, I don't even know the name or identity of any our people in the community, to be honest with you. So I'm hoping they just kind of pay attention. And as soon as one does it, I think that kind of forces the rest of them to do it as well. They're just going to start arbing at that point, because the active arb is going to be executed before the passive arb. So you kind of have to do it in order to be competitive,
Patriot, do you have any questions about limit swaps?
Okay, is it from the users, like, so someone who's paying attention to the swaps, they want to like, because this is going to go live, right? And assume no bugs or anything like that. But when they're watching swaps, is there a way to differentiate between a regular swap and a limit order swap? from perspective, or
Yeah.
is it just okay? Yeah, could you
Yeah.
break that down a little bit?
Yeah, I think the best way to do it, I guess, is looking at the memo that was used to to put the order in or whatever, if this is the market order or limit order. And you'll just notice there's a one character difference in the very beginning of that string that has a regular swap or a market's order begins an equal sign, and versus the other one just the equals plus a little bracket, a little like sideways V.
Okay, cool. And if anyone has any issues with limit swaps, would the best place to bring it up would just be Dev Discord, I take it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It makes any kind of weird behavior or unexpected whatever or something like that, like let us know in the Dev Discord. Provide a transaction hash that we can take a deeper look at it, and we'll analyze it and see what the problem is and how severe that problem is, and then we'll decide what the best way to go forward is.
Okay, perfect. I think that's all I got, Kenton, on limit swaps. It's very awesome, guys. I'm super excited.
I just actually thought of another question. I assume, or maybe I should assume, I'll just ask. There will be no kind of like MEV possible with limit swaps. So like, will it be like time stamped so that whoever gets in their order first, that's the order they are in line, not for priority. So if everybody has like using the same limit, it's people's fills are being ordered based on the time they entered their order. So whoever entered the order first gets priority, or is there a way for the nodes or somebody to jump in front of that and get in front of their order?
Generally speaking, it's not really practical. In order to do that, if you really wanted to do that, the only way you could do that is by not submitting, by ignoring transactions. So the order of how things are executed is still the same as it is today. And that's largely being like the largest trades go first, the smaller trades go last. Sense? So the only way to muck around with it is if like somebody broadcasts a transaction to do like, an arb, whatever, or a trade. And then the validator that happens to get, that's like kind of the commander, if you want to call it, the chief of that particular block, who's proposing that particular block. They could theoretically, if they had some like, advanced coding skills, they could just like drop that transaction and not include it in that particular block. And then the next block, some other person would probably just include it. That's the only way that I can think of that you could possibly MEV this, just by not admitting new transactions or specific transactions into the queue. But that would be really hard to do, and it probably wouldn't be very effective at actually doing actual MEV, to be honest.
Gotcha. Cool. Should we move on to Memoless then? I know you're excited about it. You want to remind everybody what it is and when do you see it coming out?
Yeah, well, before we do that, let's go rapid, because Rapid's probably gonna be
sure.
before
Yep.
Memoless.
Yep.
Rapid swaps is like the next thing after limit, and that's really about getting multiple trades, multiple swaps. If you have like a streaming swap, like 10 streaming swaps, instead of waiting 10 blocks for that trade to execute, you can do all 10 trades in a single block. So you get the price performance of a streaming swap, but the time performance of like non-streaming swap, like all the trades just one. You really get the best of both worlds theoretically in that system. So that you'll get really great price distribution and then like basically instantaneous, time frame, depending upon some things. So that's like something. That's the next thing after that. We're going to be testing in StageNet and making sure it works right and get that rollout as well. That's where like the limit orders really become really valuable at that point, because now you can be a proactive, ARB bot. You can utilize that proactive kind of attribute of those ARBs to do a fuck ton of trading in a very short period of time, but still have amazing price execution. So that's like the next kind of major milestone in my mind. I'm really excited to see that, because that should also kind of increase liquidity and more volume more accurately.
So with rapid swaps, everything will still clear through the pools.
Right.
So if there's a $1 million buy order on the limit book and a $1 million sell order at a limit book, and you can cross them, they'll still settle through they'll still go through the pools. So the
Yep.
pools still collect their fees and everything. And yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so, okay, so you want to do some testing on rapid swaps, make sure it's okay. You have like a guesstimate, you know, if everything's you do, how long you do testing for before you roll it live? Like you have a kind of if everything's
Usually,
going well.
usually spend like a few days or a week on StageNet, mucking around with it and trying different scenarios and just making sure everything looks, correct and accurate in terms of behavior. If limit orders goes very smoothly, let's assume that's the case for the time being. I think we can start testing, rapid swaps like in about 2 weeks. If limit orders has bugs or problems, we have to deploy new code, blah, blah, blah. That's going to delay it like, a month or so.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be the best thing in the world. But I think if limit swaps are good and if we don't need it, no serious problems, then we can probably get rapid swaps rolling out like 2 weeks later, maybe 2-3 weeks.
Cool, got it. So something I'm concerned about, and I've been whining and complaining over the years, is the outbound delay, and it has been reduced. I think it started at 60 minutes. It was reduced to 45 minutes, and now it's been reduced to 20, and then that's the max time that a swap is withheld before it's settled to the user. I'm curious. In my mind, we can't really experience the full benefit of rapid swaps with the outbound delay on. Do you agree or disagree? And if you agree, do you think we got to start looking at reducing the outbound delay so we can get the biggest, experience all the positivity from rapid swaps?
There's having some validity to what you're saying. We want to be more like performant in terms of like how long does it take when I broadcast my transaction to do a trade and I actually receive my asset on the other side. The outbound delay now is like really only around like 30 seconds currently. I know there's like a max of 20 minutes, whatever it is, but like there's a dashboard on some website. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but I can look it up.
It's
Yeah, the whole-
Rakes. I forget it. I forget the URL, but it's Rakes, you guys. RAYYYK, I think,
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
And I think they're saying it's like really if you're doing a trade, you're waiting about 30 seconds, which is not a crazy amount of time. There's some argument to be made. Like, there's a kind of an interesting kind of debate you can have between the market getting more competitive, right? We have more competitors in the market today than we did even like a year or two ago. And so that's pressure to get quicker, get faster, be more competitive in the market and not have these like 30-second delays or whatever it is. And on the other hand, you can argue about safety and security. And how many DeFi protocols have we seen like get completely rugged of all their funds just by not having any kind of like security bounds around things and measures to be able to protect itself from malicious attacks. So there's a kind of a interesting debate, but kind of a yin and a yang here between those 2 points. And there's not necessarily like a right or wrong answer necessarily, but it's something that the community should be aware of when we're talking these things. I'm becoming more and more open to like reducing or potentially even eliminating the outbound delay. So we've been running it since 2021, I think it is when we first implemented that feature. So it's been 4 years. It's hard to know how successful it's been because we haven't really used it. Like we haven't seen some sort of like outbound thing happening and it's crazy. We paused the signing so we don't actually lose whatever those funds were. Like that's never actually happened. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it hasn't been helpful because it's like if you've never been robbed, you don't start unlocking your door, right? You don't start like just leaving your front door open just because you've been robbed in the last 4 years. Just by having it existing in the protocol is in itself a deterrent from people, like because now if they want to attack THORChain, they have to think about, oh, how am I going to get past this outbound delay thing, right? If I have this new hack or I can steal funds or whatever, like I can't get past the outbound delay. So how am I going to deal with that? And then maybe they don't have an answer to it, because it's really hard to get around that, obviously. And then they don't even make their attack because they can't see how it's even been profitable. So it's hard. It's hard to kind of argue in one direction or the other on this topic. But I'm interested to hear what the community has to say on it.
I agree. I totally agree with you, and I totally understand. The defense from my position is that if we get rid of the outbound delay, it should increase volume, right? We should have more trades because it's more convenient, easier to use, and that should improve the room price, and then that should give the treasury more resources, more money to just hire somebody or a couple people to just literally watch THORChain like 24/7.
Yep.
I know there's we have alerts and stuff like Hypernative, but like my concern is that like the nodes really aren't actually watching the alerts even. Like everyone just assumes somebody else is doing it.
Right.
And so even though we've got this delay, like no one's actually watching it. And so and we kind of need to give somebody like, or a group, say, listen, this is your specific job. You have to watch this. And obviously we got to pay for it, but at least everyone can be confident that there's a person or group of people who that is their sole job, is to just watch for an exploit. And I think that would actually make THORChain safer than just relying on some automated alerts.
Yeah. We do have a contract with Soda Labs. I think this is a component of that. They're kind of helping out on the kind of the THORSec kind of world part of the equation, and building alerting and all that kind of stuff, and giving them access to a node to do like a make pause or something like that is part of the. I think they're part of the equation when it comes to that kind of work. So there is active work being done, but alerting is not that helpful when the thing already happened. You know what I mean? So if we do get an alert of like some weird thing where somebody, put in $10,000 of value and got out $400,000 in value, if the $400,000 leaves within 5 seconds, then it's not really likely that somebody's, even if you get an alerting, like nobody's going to get to their laptop, flip it on, log into a server, do a make pause, all that kind of stuff. But that takes time. That takes like, 10, 15 minutes, so to speak. So it's like, it's an interesting, debate, but it's not like a clean right answer.
That's fair. Yeah, you're totally right. Absolutely. Well, like I said, it'll be a conversation we'll have to have and keep thinking about. Well, one thing I love about us having these discussions and the community participating is that like everybody, it's a pretty powerful brainstorming group we have, and there's a lot of smart people in this community, and I feel like everyone's bouncing ideas off each other. We'll figure something out that is eloquent and makes the most sense. So this is just part of that process, having that conversation, getting people thinking about it.
Yeah, really. Do you want to move on to Memoless?
Sure. Maybe let Patriot jump in. I'm hogging the conversation.
Just real quick. So how, I know it's post the fact if funds leave, but when it comes to outbound delay, especially if we increase the block time, I imagine that would also help because, or I'm not decrease the block time, I'm sorry, where you have more than likely things are going to get faster in that way. But I'm curious, Chad, like when it comes to the solvency checker, like if there's just like one penny missing, it pauses. How do you like the solvency? This is where I need to refresh my memory here. Like, does the solvency checker, do you find it as a pretty good net? Like if something happened on, limit swaps or rapid swaps, that it would immediately pause the moment it detected a mild insolvency?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I love the insolvency checker. I think it was one of the best security decisions we made as a team, and that was back in 2021 as well. It doesn't trigger if it's like a 1 penny change, because there's like kind of like a little bit of a drift in the sense of like between like what the state of a the state of the Bitcoin blockchain and the state of Thor nodes understanding of the Bitcoin blockchain. Those two things aren't like lockstep, second to second, like the same. So there's a little bit of like kind of like a little bit of kind of like it's hard to keep them kind of synced in some sense. But there is significant value, like more than a penny, but not that much more than a penny. Then it does do an auto kind of halting. How long that would take would be, in theory, it might depend on which chain that it's insolvency is on, but I would say within like, I don't know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, I'm going to guess, depending upon the situation. I don't think we've ever seen the solvency checker actually like fire in a correct way, like meaning that with actually an insolvency issue and it fired because there was a problem. We haven't had any stolen funds since this feature was implemented. But it is a strong way of protecting the network. It doesn't.
Hey, Chad, you're breaking up pretty bad.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
Am I back there?
Yeah, you're back. Go ahead.
It's not 100% protection because, like, say if somebody found like an exploit around withdrawing liquidity, there was some sort of mathematical bug around, they over gave them too many units when they were withdrawing liquidity or something like this, and they took out too much money or this hypothetical kind of bug. The solvency checker wouldn't get that. That's a bug within Thor node and this mathematics, and so it wouldn't capture that particular instance. But somebody, the best case scenario of when this solvency checker would work is less so on the outbound. It's probably more likely to be on the inbound. So if you were to input a falsified token, that's pretending to be this, like we had an exploit before, like a long time ago, where like somebody gave the network a fake ether, and we gave them the credit of like a real ether, and then they put in some bullshit token, and they got out a bunch of Bitcoin or whatever it was. And so the solvency checker would have caught that in that particular instance, assuming that the solvency checker would have caught it before the swap was made and then the trade was executed and then the outbound delay and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. And guys, this is just a reminder, that's why we don't bust the devs balls when they're introducing new, primitives like rapid swaps. Okay. There's a lot of moving pieces, but the solvency checker, of course it's not perfect for the reasons Chad described, but it definitely makes me comforted. And like what Kenton said, I think we're going to find a novel solution to this. We're going to figure this out and make an eloquent solution that maximizes both the throughput and then the security element of it. But okay, I think I got my part done. Kenton, I'll kick it back to you, as I know you were going to move on to another thing.
Oh, you can go keep going. Yeah, Chad, you want to talk about Memoless?
Yeah. So I'm hoping in 3.13, version 3.13 of the code, we're going to get Memoless done. And by the way, that includes inbound Memoless, outbound Memoless, and internal Memoless. So we're going to get rid of, like, I think all of the memos, and stop using any memo whatsoever on the protocol, which is great because it makes it, we can actually theoretically, we can get rid of the router on the EVM chains, which actually is really, really nice. Just simplifies the design, more unison kind of design across all the different chains. We don't have to worry about like smart contract, risk on, EVM stuff. We would probably have to drop support for deck aggregation, but I'm not sure that's a really heavily utilized feature. We have a new plan to how to deal with the use case of deck aggregation, which we're going to get to later on in the conversation probably. But I'm hoping in 3.13 we'll get rid of all the memos. We'll have the code in place for that, and we'll roll out, enabling that memoless for each thing independently, inbound, outbound, and internal. I'm really excited about Memoless. I think it's going to be a game changer for us. It's going to change the way people trade with us. It's going to drive in a lot of value. I think it's going to be very, very positive. To give very simple, clean, fast, easy, and super cheap ways of swapping there's probably not much more we could do to provide additional value to the protocol than that.
Whoa, Chad. Okay, you're kind of blowing my mind here a bit. So I thought Memoless swaps was just adding the feature Memoless. I didn't know you wanted to remove Memoless altogether. So, like, you won't be able to So you won't be able to enter a memo to place an order. Everything is going to become memoless.
So sorry. You can still use a memo on the inbound if you choose to. It's just no longer going to be required. When we send out a transaction, it will no longer have a memo. And when we do like a migrate, when we like churn from volts, set volts A to set volts B, we won't use migrate memos in that either. So you can still use a memo, and I would actually, I think it's like better to use a memo in some sense, because it's a cleaner way of doing things, but from a coding perspective, but you can still use memos on the inbound. Like in the old UIs, that we have today will still be fully functioning with their memos. Memos are dying in that particular sense. It's just going to make them optional.
Okay, got it. So, but you said if you Memoless, and it will enable you to get rid of the ETH router, which you said might affect DEX aggregation. So, which you said you don't think anyone's really using it. So would that mean then we'd only be able to trade assets that are on THORChain? Like we wouldn't be able to connect THORChain to any other DEXs? Or could a front end still develop that on their own, or how would that work?
So there's two new features that JP and I have been chatting about around this concept. So I think the one way that we do better to win in this industry is that a lot of UIs, they want to integrate with aggregators like SwapKit, for example. And they do that because SwapKit has a bunch of different routes, a bunch of different providers, so to speak. They can quote, 3 or 4 or 5, 10, whatever providers they have, and then give the user whatever, route to get from point A to point B. And of course, that creates like some, competition between the different providers, between THORChain and Chainflip and Near and whatever else out there. And the reason why people would do that is because SwapKit has just support for a lot more assets and a lot more chains than what like THORChain by itself can do, right? So I think the theory that JP and I are kind of been chatting about is that like, well, let's just add fuck tons and more chains, like the same chains as every other competitor has, and plus more. And let's offer also intents so that you can swap with assets that we don't have pools for. So we're like, these two features combined together are really about the long tail on the chains and long tail on the assets, so that you can swap, tens of thousands of tokens on THORChain, and not just the ones that have pools. So in order to make it easier and faster to deploy chains into the network, the idea is that we have like, we call opt-in security or shard security or whatever you want to call it, which is basically the idea that a handful of individual validators can choose to support this new chain. Let's just call it Solana, for example. And as long as you have enough validators, a minimum of 4, then you can start, trading or swapping, with the Solana token, the SOL token on that particular chain. And then you can use the intents to get to, any random, meme token that exists within the Solana kind of ecosystem, right? So it just makes it super easy for some organization like 9 Realms to, roll out a new chain client for Solana or, whatever, Sui or whatever it's going to be. They can roll it out independently on their own without going through like, an orchestration process with the rest of the protocol. And they can roll out support for Sui or Solana like real quick. And then the rest of the network, the other validators, can just opt in to also support Solana, right? And of course, the liquidity or the fees collected for chain A versus chain B, gets sent out to validators based on whichever chains you support. So in the beginning, 9 Realms might be the only validator for Solana, but then maybe Kenton or somebody else is like, I like Solana. I want a little bit of that Solana, Solana sweetness. And so you can add support, and get churned into that particular chain, so that instead of having everybody validate every chain, it's now going to be optional. and people can opt into whatever chains or opt out of whatever chains they want to support as an individual validator. That just should make it a lot quicker and a lot easier just to roll out a lot more chains.
Can I just ask a
Yeah,
question
go ahead,
on
Slam
that?
Jammer.
So I think, let's say, for example, it's for validate, if, let's say there was a smaller chain, Sui, right? And we said, okay, the chain client was released for this and 4 validators opt into that. Would that not open an attack vector where if I control those 4 nodes, I could say that I've observed, a massive swap coming in from Sui to Bitcoin, and then therefore drain the THORChain Bitcoin vault?
Yes, that is definitely possible in that hypothetical scenario.
Sure.
I am not worried about that in the 9 realm scenario because 9 is off the highly aligned. We can always do solvency checkers outside of the protocol because these malicious actors, if they wanted to, they can just pretend that there was like 10,000 soul tokens swapped into the protocol that never actually happened. And the solve checker wouldn't get that because they are the ones that are providing the solve checker in that scenario. So it would have to be outside of the protocol in that scenario. But I don't think we'd be in a place where some new chain gets added and there's only 4 validators to it, and that's like the end of it. Most likely that when some chain gets added, would it be Sui or Solana or whatever, within a week or 2, like I'm sure Kenton would probably, but Kenton runs nodes. I know Kenton would probably be interested in adding support for that, thing, and so forth and so on. So I think it's more of like removing the orchestration part of it, of like chain rollouts just to make it easier, quicker to do so, and then let the protocol just kind of adopt that chain, over the course of, a week or a month or whatever it is.
Yeah, look, understood. I guess, I mean, well, I think it's definitely the right direction to go. Perhaps if we could up it from maybe 4 validators at a minimum to a slightly higher thing or something like that. But yeah. I completely take your point.
Yeah, we can make the minimum, 6 or 10 or some arbitrary number.
Cool. Cheers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe increasing the number that would help in there. Go ahead, Kenton.
No, keep going.
Well, I had a question for Chad, and then we went down this multi-pool. I'm trying to figure out what the heck I was going to ask him. I'm kicking myself right now because I found that was so interesting. I love what you said, Chad, because when I go to talk to like 9 realms at conferences or whatever, their one fear to me is that damn router and making changes to that router. So if Memoless can bypass the router, isn't that not like a huge attack vector that we lose as a protocol?
I'm not sure I would use the word huge necessarily because the router itself is like very small. It's not a complicated piece of software. But not having it is better than having it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. My understanding was if we make changes to the router, then that we can't is there a big fear to change the router because it's working great now, but this is where I'm sorry, my lack of technical understanding kind of falls, but I'll just let you go if you want to riff off that.
Yeah, we don't change the router very much. We do have a new version come up, router v6, which is for like batch outbounds and other things, but theoretically we may not even roll that out if we decide that we don't even need a router to begin with.
Makes sense to me. Cool. On Memoless specifically, Chad, I remember from conversations a long time ago, there's actually a limited amount of Memoless swaps because it takes the dust of the of the transaction. So do you feel like that might be a bottleneck for us if it's really successful, and maybe there's ways to fix that?
No, because that little like ID number kind of embedded in the dust of the transaction, that's like between like 1 and like 100,000, right? And it's unique per asset. So that ID number is, it can be reused based upon which asset we're talking about here. So it's like Bitcoin and ETH collectively have 200,000 ID numbers effectively. These things do have TTLs, which are expiries to these things. What the expiry is, I think it's like set to 3 hours or 6 hours, or I can't remember the number is off the top of my head, but they expire after so much time. We presume the trade's already been done at that time or whatever. So I'm not.
I think we lost you.
Attack on the
Chad?
protocol.
We lose you, Chad?
Right.
Yeah,
Am I back?
you cut out there, Chad.
Yeah, sorry about that. The only way that could happen, we run out of like IDs or whatever, is if there was some sort of attack on the protocol, like somebody just like registering IDs like crazy, as some sort of malicious kind of DOSing the protocol in one form or another. I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. If it becomes an issue, we can deal with it and make some changes and whatever. But it's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. But it should be fine, to be honest.
Okay, so they constantly replenish the number, right? Because I thought I remembered it was like they were once per day, but if it's once every like few hours or something, then that makes a lot more sense. Because okay,
right.
This is how my brain's doing. So I'm thinking of like various integrations like Mocha, where they want to have a point of sale application that uses, THORChain, Maya protocol, whatever. And let's say something like that really takes off, whether it's Maya or another protocol. Like, do you think they'll be using Memoless swaps in there, or do you think that Memoless swaps are for something else? Really, you see them like I was imagining that there's like I'm thinking THORChain is infrastructure of the world, so there's just like hundreds of millions of people using this thing in a long time frame. So that's kind of where my mind goes when it comes to bottlenecks. But you don't necessarily foresee that being a problem.
No, I don't see that being an issue. I'll be curious to see who adopts Memoless and who doesn't. Like I know that like some wallets like Ledger, for example, might want to use Memoless in a different way, where there's a way in the protocol where you can register like some memo, and then it gives you the reference ID, and instead of embedding that into the actual like dust in the token amount, you can put that as a memo. So the memo would be like our reference, and then R colon, and then some 5-digit number. And then so you might ask the question like, well, why would you put a memo in when you just registered a memo? It seems kind of pointless. But the nice thing about it is that it gives you arbitrarily space. So
Chad, you cut out of the best part. It gives you what?
Sorry, something wrong with my data connection today, apparently. Am I back?
You're back. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it give? That was the juicy part that you cut out on.
Yeah. What it gives you like is a way to like have like arbitrary long memos, even in chains that don't support long memos. Like for example, I think like Monero for 16 bytes. There are some chains that don't even have memos, for example. But like you can use that to do much smaller memos, but expand it to be larger without needing to put like some sort of specific amount in the dust amount of the transaction. I think Ledger is interested in this feature and utilizing it. I'm not 100% certain on that. I've heard some kind of talk around it, but it's another use case of the memo features in a way that was not planned, but people seem to be liking in one form or another.
Yeah, because the Memoless thing, I agree with you. I think it's gonna be very, very powerful because I've been chatting with the XRP community and they're super excited, because first off, the technical burden is very, very minimal, and they can make their own interface using this technology running THORChain in the back end, right? So they're super excited. So I'm really curious of this really taking off, because I know a guy who has a consulting firm and he says, listen, I have XRP. I want to be able to let people swap on my consulting firm website or whatever else he has planned with Memoless, right? And another thing, Chad, is, I can't prove the demand, but one thing I get mentioned a lot by the XRP is support for RLUSD, which is not something that can be added simply, I understand. But I really think there is something there for this, where people, again, this is infrastructure and people are really going to adopt it. So I'm kind of agreeing 100% with you that Memoless really has a huge potential here. I'm super excited to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited to see how this rolls out. We're going to see a lot more. I think we're going to see a lot more volume from this. So hopefully, I'll be proven to be correct on that. But I'm really quite positive. But it makes logical sense. Like you provide something, an easier, quicker, cheaper, faster, simpler interface that should bring in more volume. That's just my logic.
Makes sense to me. Do you got anything else, Kenton, on that?
Yeah, I was just actually just thinking maybe we should actually just explain to people what Memoless is and why it's a big deal, just in case somebody isn't as in depth into THORChain as we are. So when to use THORChain, you connect your wallet to a website, and that website is writing a memo for you, basically to go place a trade on THORChain. With memoless swaps, you won't have to connect your wallet to a website. You'll still go to a site and you'll still enter your details, but the site will create a transaction for you, which you go into your wallet and you go send your Bitcoin to buy ETH, for example, and the instructions to buy that ETH will be in the amount of Bitcoin that you're sending, and but the real what you call it, like the 0 to 1 here, is you'll be able to trade without connecting your wallet to a site. And if anyone's been in crypto long enough, you not only have you heard of, I'm sure you know someone personally who's connected their wallet to a malicious website and had their wallet drained. It's probably amongst like sophisticated crypto users, probably one of the most common attacks I'm aware of. And like even like CEOs of crypto projects, or CEOs, leaders, founders, whatever you want to call them, that have had their wallets drained. They've connected it to a malicious website. And I know a few years ago, THORChads were in a Plan B text exchange, thread exchange, telling them to trade his Bitcoin on THORChain. And he was open to it, but he's like, I don't want to connect my wallet to a website. And everyone's like, well, Memoless, we're doing Memoless, we're working on it. So now it's coming. So even for Bitcoin maxis who only want to do, maybe they'll buy a stablecoin, right? But they only want to do Bitcoin and stablecoin, but they're really hardcore, about security and protection and whatnot. This is their solution. It doesn't get any better or safer than that. So, even if we don't see the pickup in volume right away, like this gives us something huge that we can really sell and pitch and market and promote and not just to newbies, but like to the real OG sophisticated crypto users. Like they should recognize this. This should be a big deal for them, right? I don't see how they'll if they ignore it, they're just being idiots. So this should resonate with the market when we get the message out there.
Yeah, I mean, like what is the weakness here? Like it's faster, it's safer, it's efficient, the price execution is great, no KYC, like it's amazing. And anyone can use this tooling, right, to make their own thing, and they don't have to use THORChain, they don't have to have any, or I'm sorry, they don't have to put a THORChain face on it. They can make it their own. This is really, I think you're right, Kenton. This is a huge ad here where we're abstracting away of centralized players having their stranglehold on the market. Now, really, like THORChain has done the hard work and gotten to this point where now the infrastructure can be adopted. People, it's like a highway. People can now make on ramps onto that highway and start using it for their own, to travel. I think this is very, very powerful stuff, guys. I mean, I think really we're witnessing the beginning here of something truly phenomenal. It's like, you think about where we're at right now, and then you try and forecast your mind, like build it in your brain, the first principles, like where the industry needs to go in order for to have mass adoption, in order for this to be safer, simpler, and where you have grandma using crypto. These are the steps, I think. And then there's more to come after this. So super, super exciting. What else do you think we got, Chad? Is there any...
I actually want to kind of ask Chad a few more questions about Memoless.
Yes.
So Chad, doesn't Chainflip have their version of Memoless swaps? And
say it again.
Does Chainflip have a version of Memoless swaps?
Yes.
And if
so they've been using their kind of conceptually similar thing of Memoless from the beginning. That's been a kind of like one of their differentiating features, and we're kind of in some ways reaching parity to them in that way.
So how is the way they've done it different than way THORChain is doing it? or is it the same?
Sorry, my data signal can be terrible today.
No,
for
you're
some
good.
weird reason.
How does chain flips memoless swaps work compared to THORChains, or
Um,
are they the same? Is works the same?
They're
And if it's yeah, go ahead.
they're conceptually the same. There are some design differences. Like they're using more um, typical design of they produce like a new. I hope I'm correcting this, but it's a more typical design of like you have a hierarchical deterministic wallet, which basically means you have a private key that can generate like many different wallet addresses for the same private key. And for each individual, each time you want to use like some sort of transaction, I remember was saying, you request a new address and then you send your money to that address. And that's how it references like, oh, any money sent to this address is doing this swap or this.
Now you cut out, Chad.
Cut it out, Chad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. My data signal.
You're
terrible
good.
today.
Yeah. Any
We're not-
so a user registers new address. Any trade going to that address is for that user.
Sorry, my data signal is so poor. Anyways, like it's that's the more traditional way of doing this kind of thing of like large deposits from different people. We didn't go that way for technical reasons. There's a lot of complexity about doing that in a decentralized way of producing, wallet addresses and then observing those wallet addresses and then. When you got money sent to some random new address, you have to like churn it back into the rest of the protocol somehow. And if they sent you an ERC20, well, you got to put some ETH gas into that wallet address, and then you can use that gas to send it back to the protocol so that we can churn. They don't have to deal with this so much because they churn like very, very rarely. Like I think it's like every 7 months or something crazy like this. But it does create a lot of technical complexity. And we're going to try it this way and see how well it works. I think it'll be just fine. There are, caveats to it as there is with any particular design. But I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. And if it is, we'll address it and move forward.
So just to play devil's advocate
Yeah.
a little bit, if Chainflips already has memoless swaps, how come their memoless swaps haven't taken off? And why would THORChain's memoless swaps take off if Chainflips hasn't?
That's a good question. I think like I think because it's largely because a lot of the volume they're getting is through like SwapKit. And those situations are a little bit of a different kind of experience for the users.
Sorry, Chad. The volume Chainflip is getting is coming from where?
From SwapKit. I think a lot of their volume is coming through SwapKit, and I'm not sure what the process of what SwapKit goes through. I think what we're trying to achieve here is by offering a memoless implementation, which means you can have a very simple and clean UI. We don't have to charge. We don't have to have like a UI fee, right? Because in some ways, like THORSwap is making almost just as much money on swap for THORChain than the THORChain pool does, because they're charging 25 bits for their trades, and we're charging like 5 or 10 or whatever the number is. So by offering Memoless allows us to give like free UIs to not have those kind of like additional charges. And when you pair that with the kind of this idea of expanding into the long tail of chains and long tail of assets, it's going to be an interesting thing for wallet integrators to think about, because they can either continue to use something like a SwapKit that charges 25 bips on all the trades, or they can use something like THORChain, which has the same chains, has the same routes, and still has really good price execution, but doesn't charge 25 bips on top of the fee that the protocol itself is charging. That kind of, I think, would be a strong way of like just garnering more volume back to the protocol.
100%. So let's get into that. How will Memoless enable accessing the tail end of assets? All the like the really tiny, small market cap coins. There's how does that work in this? How will if the token isn't trading on a pool on THORChain, how will somebody be able to trade that token through THORChain?
Right. So this is where the intense intense design comes in, and so we have a design that JP and I have been working on, and structurally how it works is this: it's that like say you have Bitcoin and you want to get some random like shit token on Solana, like some random meme token that doesn't exist on blockchain pools, or vice versa, go meme token to Bitcoin or whatever. You submit the the Bitcoin or the source asset is. You have a memo that says, I want to get this random meme token, reference that token's name. And then you set like a upper bound and a lower bound of how much of that meme token you want to receive, right? And the network will then start basically selling, that meme or allow that meme token to be picked up at the higher bound on block one. And then on block two, it's a little bit lower. And block three, it's a little bit lower. And eventually gets like, it kind of walks down the line from the high price down to the low price. And eventually at some point, some arbitrage bot says, oh, okay, there's a 25 bit differential on this random meme token. I'm going to go buy the meme token on,
Hey, Chad, you cut out.
oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Sorry, my data sucks so much.
You're good.
So some arbitrage, would say, hey, if I provide this meme token, I can get, a pretty good deal on it and make a little profit. So I'm going to go to some DEX and then sell some Solana token, get some DEX with the meme token, send a meme token into THORChain, and then, get the Bitcoin on the other side, and I'll get a little like 25 bips, whatever the thing is. So by doing that, like you can actually trade any asset on THORChain. That's doesn't matter if it has a pool or not. Obviously, we have to support the chain, of course, but we don't have to support the asset specifically. So you can arbitrarily trade every token on every chain that we support with this feature.
This is huge, man. Dude, I had no idea the space is going to be filled with so much alpha. So THORChain would have to have the gas asset, the main L1 pool,
Right.
and then through Intense would be able to support any other token that lives on that L1. You're cutting out again there, Chad. We didn't hear your answer.
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, so THORChain would have to have the gas asset, the main L1 token. That pool would have to exist on THORChain, and then through Intense, you'd be able to access any other token that lives on that THORChain, but would not require that pool on THORChain.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, you can trade anything. And there's no liquidity in the network. It's just like you're just announcing to the world that like, hey, I have this Bitcoin and I want this meme token. Here's the prices that I'm willing to take, or the ratio between these two assets. And then the market will just say, oh, I'll take that. I'll fulfill that order for you, and fulfill it. Of course, if nobody fulfills it, then it doesn't get filled. If it's like some random meme token, you can't refund it back to you because we don't know what the value is. Like, we don't know if the value of the token is more than the gas it would cost to send it back to you, right? So in order to get your token back, if you want it back, you need to send another transaction into the network. Whatever, we need to send a little bit of gas. Say, hey, I want to reclaim my token that I've put up in these intents. And basically cancel my order and send it back to you, but you have to provide a little bit of gas so that we can send it back to you.
Oh, this is cool, man. Because this is something I personally believe THORChain needs to offer. Like, we can't. I understand the vast majority of crypto volume is like Bitcoin to Tether to Ethereum. I get it. I understand that, but there's a reason Binance has several hundred tokens listed. There's a reason when you go to the grocery store, they have thousands of items that you never have no interest in buying. You only go and buy a handful, right? Same with Home Depot, Walmart, Costco. But the market as a whole has, everyone has their, you have your little unique item and brand that you always go to the store to buy, right? And somebody has that random token at Binance they want to go buy. If we really want to be a big box store, where we dominate worldwide, we have to offer thousands of different tokens. And so this sounds like a very elegant solution to do it, like efficiently and cost effective, and like and then same with going to, like you said, going to wallets, going to partners or websites, whatever, to integrate THORChain. You integrate THORChain, you have access to everything instantly. I think that's huge. That's very powerful. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I've always been historically I've always been against adding new chains because I didn't think they would warrant the time and effort and engineering for the volume that it would kind of bring in. And to be honest, I think I've been kind of proven right to some degree in that mentality. But I think how I've kind of evolved my thinking is that you know, we want wallets to integrate with us more directly. And they're not going to integrate with THORChain directly because THORChain just doesn't have enough routes to make it worthwhile. So even like, JP is working on VoltSig and they're implementing like some like swapping logic, whatever, and they're integrating with SwapKit, and JP is like, why can't I just integrate with THORChain directly? And it's like, this doesn't support what I want, right? So I have to use something like a SwapKit. So for me, it's less about like, the intent is less about creating volume or even fees for the protocol, because I don't think it actually would create that much volume or features. It's just trading random, shit tokens. But what I do think it'll do is that it creates an opportunity where we can be very competitive against, aggregators like SwapKit and similar out there, and do that for basically free, and give people 25 bips less of a fee on their trades or whatever. And if we do that, then it becomes like we're getting 100% of the volume of some wallet, like Trust Wallet or whatever it is, instead of a third or a fifth or 8/9 or whatever the hell it is. Getting to a place where aggregators are less valuable or less useful.
I'm kidding out there, Chad. Getting to a place where aggregators are less valuable or less useful.
Yeah, it's a good way it's a good strategy for us to win, right? Getting it so that you can that the full cost of your trade is as low as possible, while still producing fees for the protocol. It was like the name of the game, I think, at this point.
It totally. And like, going back to those big box store examples, sorry if you guys don't live in North America, but hopefully you're familiar with Costco or Walmart or Home Depot. They have lots of items that they don't make any money on, or they actually lose money on. And but they do it just to get people into the store, because they know they're gonna, not only will they buy that item, they're gonna buy other items too, including items that have higher margin, higher markups. So so for example, like with THORChain offering some access to meme coins, I really do believe we need access to meme coins, because that's people love them, people trade them, right? Don't argue with the market, just pay attention what the market is doing, what they want. And I'm not trying to suggest we're going to get a lot of volume or make a lot of money off these meme coins directly, but if they're using THORChain to go play with these meme coins, they'll also use THORChain to trade their Bitcoin, to trade their Ethereum, their larger positions. And so just like when you go to the grocery store, you don't just buy one item, you fill up your cart, right? You buy a whole bunch of items, and that cart in total is where the store makes, the net profit from all those items is where the store makes money. So it's the same thing with people trading on THORChain. It isn't just about, does THORChain make money on one route? Is does THORChain make money on all of the routes this individual user is doing? And I'm inclined to think, just by default, since Bitcoin and Ethereum and Tether, those are the largest trading pairs in the world, everybody owns that to an extent, right? Even if you're all in on whatever token, everyone still has some Bitcoin or some Ethereum, right? And they're still doing some trading. So, I think, in my opinion, the goal for THORChain should be capturing the user and provide the full user experience. So they're doing all of their trades through THORChain, and that is invariably inevitably going to mean we're going to be providing routes that just don't really make sense, individually by themselves. But in totality to keep that user and get that user, it does make sense to keep them. So yeah, this is cool, man. This is actually, I had no idea. Is this new? Did you guys just come up with this in the last like couple of weeks, or is this, or am I the first? Is this the first time I'm hearing about it? Do you guys all know about this?
No, it's new. Like JP and I started chatting about this notion like last week, and we've been kicking back and forth ideas and kind of spitting out ideas and throwing some of them out and making modifications and just kind of getting on board with each other about what would be the correct design if we wanted to go down this road. I think we're both feeling pretty good about it at this point.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about it. Patriot, you want to jump in? Slam Bammer, do you guys have any?
Well, I'm definitely feeling good about it. This is Alpha Saturday, boys and girls. Alpha Saturday. I'm super pumped up over here. The thing that I don't fully quite understand, Chad, maybe you can clarify. We'll have intents. Let's just wave the magic wand. There's intents on the base layer, and then there's intents on the app layer. How do those are they synergistic, or are they just ones on the app layer? People have a choice what they want to use. Like, how do you foresee that happening?
Yeah, they're separate things, but they're synergistic. So they can use each other's liquidity in a sense, right? Because if you have an intent on the app layer selling a token and you have an intent on the base layer that's buying the token, you can just be an arbitrage bot that just satisfies both of them, but in a single or maybe two transactions. So they would like the liquidity would be additive between the two of them.
Interesting. That's really cool. Slam Bammer, you are a node operator. Thank you for coming up, by the way, man. Always love having you. You're a great guy. Do you have anything you want to ask Chad while he's up here? It doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be something a little different. But just because you're a node operator, I love having that. Want to just give you the floor a little bit. If there is some question, burning thing you want to ask Chad, go for it, man.
No, thanks, appreciate it. I think the main thing was around the chain opt-ins. I think one thing, probably not to Chad, just but while Chad's here, Chad's talked about a lot of really great new features, and I think I need to do a few X posts to this effect. I think sometimes the community can get a bit impatient. I mean, we all we've heard about awesome new features coming up. But I think it's very important to remember that on THORChain, there's there's no second chances, right? I work in software, and in the traditional software world, you can release something with a bug, your customer's unhappy, but you have a second chance to fix it. On THORChain, if there's a bug, there's a lot of value at stake, and so there's a reason why new features like this take time to be cooked, hardened, and tested. And I think it's important for us to remember that as well as in the community. So yeah, thanks for all your efforts.
Love it.
Thanks, man.
I have a question about intents. So what's the difference between intents and limit orders? They sound similar the way you described them.
Yeah, so limit orders, you have a specific thing. You're putting in like one Bitcoin and you have an exact much amount of ETH that you want to get out. On intents, you're giving more of like a range, right? And then because there's like the liquidity is kind of found on demand in a sense by the market kind of responding to the distance of your limit order. So how much you're going to get out in the end is just depending upon how fast ARBs are willing to respond, to your intent. But they are similar in the sense that I am putting in X and I want Y out. Give it to me. They are similar in that sense. And of course, the protocol takes out the fee. Like if we have 5 basis points fee or 10 basis points or whatever the number is going to be, then we would take out a little chunk of that for ourselves and put it into the system income.
And so, intents would be peer to peer between the seller and the buyer.
Right. It's peer to peer because there is no pool. The whole point of it is that it's like, how do we serve assets that don't have a pool? And we can't add pools for every asset because it was just like, it's just not scalable. Like, how do you get $100,000 of liquidity for hundreds of thousands of assets? Like, get out of town. That's just not going to happen. So we always kind of focused on the short tail as a protocol, and then we relied on DEX aggregation as like the long tail kind of solution of just like passing it on off the smaller dexes, localized dexes, I guess you could call it. And I think we're just kind of deciding that by just supporting on the base layer by itself, it just makes it easier for integrators to integrate with it and not to worry about trying to figure out what other dexes they have to swap on, and multiple swap kind of logic is kind of complicated. But yeah, it's similar to a limit order, but it's just no cool.
And so, and this is why when people say intents aren't decentralized, because you are trading directly with another individual, whether it's a person or a company or whatever. Whereas when you trade through a pool, the pool is decentralized, right? There's no individual in control of that pool. So I'm trying to go with this. So like, yeah, so like when people kind of say like these other platforms offering intents, they're not. It's not true decentralized. It's because it's peer to peer, because you're trading directly with another individual. That's what makes it centralized in a sense. You might have a whole list of individuals offering liquidity on this intense platform, but the way the trade goes is it's directly with another individual, and that in essence is what makes it centralized. Is that correct? Do I understand it right?
I wouldn't say that personally. Like, I think it's not centralized because it's an open market and anybody can participate. If I could only trade with one person, then yes, that would be centralized. But it's an open market; anybody can satisfy or resolve an intent. I think intents tend to be like a little bit more centralized in a sense because there has to be like some arb person that's providing the liquidity. And I think like an example like Near, I think Near like subsidizes the trades and the intents on by using the treasury, I think. And they're, maybe even operating at a loss just to garner more volume and larger market share. And like it becomes a problematic where like you're just relying on a few individuals or friends of the protocol to provide all the liquidity for all the trades. That becomes a little bit of like a centralization concerns in regard. I'm not too worried about it because we're just using it for the long tails, kind of the lesser known assets, the lower volume assets. I'm more interested in just providing the value of being able to execute it rather than worrying about how decentralized that liquidity is.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. So if liquidity dries up for the long tail, no, it's not a big deal, right? It just it'll ebb and flow. It'll come and go as long as we've got liquidity for the short tail, and we can argue that's decentralized and that's always on. That's great. That's what matters. Well, it's funny too. You mentioned if Near really is subsidizing the trades to be cheaper, that they're actually they're inhibiting their ability to decentralize, because the only way new participants are going to come contribute and be a part of it is if they're going to make money. Well, how can they make money if they're operating at a loss right now, right? How many people can they convince to come operate at a loss with them? So interesting to see how they grow from here.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, should we round this up? I'm wondering, Chad, of just if we maybe hammer these topics to death, if we should wrap things up now. And the reason I say this, guys, I know sometimes we'll go longer, but Chad has agreed to start doing the Thursday spaces again, where he comes up and gives an update just like he has today, and but to do them go back to weekly more regularly. And so I'm wondering if we save some content for this coming up Thursday. Are you cool with that, guys? Or is there anything else you want to talk about, Chad?
No, we can call it quits for today. And like you said, I'll be back online on Thursday.
Yeah.
And I'll do a Q&A or whatever. Ask me anything.
Yeah.
I think people can ask whatever they want on Thursday.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're bringing back Thursday. So just like before, Chad can come up with this, some updates, like what he's been working on. We're looking forward to. You come up, ask questions. I want to get that going again. I personally miss them. I was a fan. Wasn't always able to listen live, but I always listened to the recordings. So hope you guys are all look forward to that as well. Orion and Familiar Cal, they'll jump in when they can. Other devs, just like always, anyone's always welcome to come up, ask questions, make some comments. But we want to get that going again on Thursdays, and just for THORChain, just be THORChain specific on Thursdays. We'll keep doing these on Saturdays, where we'll have like other ecosystem projects, other communities, stuff like that. And just we want to go for longer as well. I think the Thursday one we'll try to keep around an hour, 45 minutes, hour and a half type thing. Try and respect everyone's time. But use Thursdays as like a THORChain specific update type thing, and then use Saturdays as our talking to new communities and whatnot. So yeah, guys, should we wrap it up there? Paige, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's great because I remember, Chad, like I would just like Kenton, like if I couldn't tend in live, I never miss your space. I always listen to the recording, like whether I was busy at the time. So I think people love this stuff, and because it comes from you, right? I mean, you have such a deep understanding of the code. And I think maybe Kenton, if there's like a dev on Rujira that wants to come up, because it is THORChain, right? I mean, we're all connected at this point. If they maybe want to chat with Chad or spin ideas off, because I really think the magic happens, man, when we get these people on stage and they just start like breaking things down in real time. It's kind of like what we have today. We had alpha. I didn't even know what's going to happen. Like I thought we was just going to be like a general like education day where we talk about rapid swaps and things like that. And then now it's like my mind is absolutely blown because we're going to have the potential with Intense to really just take out potentially the middleman, which is great. That's fantastic, right? And THORChain becomes the raw infrastructure that it was always meant to be. So yeah, well, I mean, of course, this Thursday we're gonna, we'll just do it, see how it goes. But I'm really hoping like Orion, Cal, or anyone on Nine Realms, and of course, I'll probably be engaged, be active, get involved, guys. Ask questions, right? I'm really looking forward to it. And again, thank you, Chad, for agreeing to do it. I think it's been very missed. I know I've missed it for sure, right? I can't beat Chad, and neither can Kenton. There's only one Chad. And so yeah, guys, super excited.
He's the Chad of Chads.
That's right.
Yeah, and you're right, Paige. I sorry neglecting someone from Rujira. Absolutely. If a Rujira dev wants to join too, they're welcome to. But yeah, the idea is to keep it focused on base layer and smart contract layer. So yeah.
100%. Well, I man, guys, I think that, well, this has been a great episode, Big Alpha. Chad, is there anything else you want to say before maybe we wrap it up and then before we do the outro?
No, I mean, I'm excited to start the Thursdays again. I'm going to try to get more engaged with communities, and I've been trying through the Discords and maybe get on Twitter more and just being more engaged with the community in general, and kind of bring back the old kind of ethos in some ways.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Kenton, do you have anything else before we wrap?
That's great, man. Go ahead, bring us home.
All right, guys. You need to share the space. Okay, Alpha dropped today. I didn't even know what was happening. I didn't know that limit swaps are going to go potentially live Monday. Hey, always allow in your heart for delays. Okay, that's the expectation. But again, for the numerous reasons we gave, give the devs some breathing room. If for sudden, it's a dynamic environment. If something happens, allow in your heart some wiggle room. If it's been delayed by a couple of days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is. Allow them. Don't blow them up. Win, 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 win. I hate that. They hate that. And now you know why everyone should hate it. Okay. So, okay, guys. So next week, we're going to have Litecoin on. I'm going to reach out to those guys, make sure they're good to go. October 18th, we're going to do another Rujira thing. We're going to have Pragmatic Monkey. He's going to give an update. And October 25th, oh gosh, dang it. Give me a second, guys. I don't have it on thing. I have it on my spaces here. Houdini Swap reached out to me October 25th. Thanks to shout out to Familiar Cal. They hooked that up. So we're going to have a little Houdini swap. In fact, I'm going to be doing a space with them this coming Wednesday. I don't remember the time offhand, but I'll be sure to give the advance notice when they post that space. And then, additionally, gosh dang, keep right. Monday, I was able to figure out a Tron space, you guys. So Monday, there's going to be a Tron space. We're going to make sure, please, guys, attend that space. Let's have a great turnout, both on the Rujira and THORChain side. I want the Tron guys to know that we're super happy we've added Tron and how big of a deal this is. I'm going to give it my best shot. Explain to Tron just how amazing it is now that they have access to THORChain, direct layer 1 access, all the good things, no KYC, permissionless. You guys know the jargon. So lots of cool things are happening in the background, guys. I mean, I can't even keep up, as you guys can tell, and I'm doing this full time. And then November 1st, we're going to have, I believe, Redacted. So we got a full schedule, man. We're just burning with these spaces. Super exciting, guys. Good things are happening. I hope you guys are absolutely freaking ecstatic. I know I am. So keep the good vibes. Again, share the space. And with that, I think we're going to wrap. Thank you all, guys, for attending live. Share the space. Check out the swap.thorchain.org interface. Use it. Check for bugs. Help us out. Go to the, if you have any bugs, make sure you communicate them right away so Kenton can get marketing, you guys. Let's get this guy working. Kenton wants to work. Let's put him to work. All right, that's enough, you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.
Later, guys.